Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? This is the part of the conference where everybody's had lunch and they're like, but
Dark
we're here
room,
to talk a little
good
bit
nap
about
time.
immersive content experiences. My name is Mario.
I'm Zach.
We work on a really small but mighty team at YouTube that's focused on YouTube experiences and XR platforms. So what we wanted to do when we got the opportunity to actually come and do a talk here, we thought it would be really great to walk through some of the things that we've learned throughout the years building these experiences for XR platforms and give you some takeaways to consider as you're building immersive experiences in your efforts in the space. So what we're going to do is we'll give you a little bit of a history of YouTube XR. We're also going to talk a little bit about how we've seen immersive needs change over the years when it comes to content. And then Zach's going to walk us through some of the efforts that went into bringing our experiences to new emerging platforms. And then in the end, we're going to have a couple of case studies around 2D experiences and how those can feel immersive. It doesn't have to be about 3D content formats or 3D immersion. All right, so what is YouTube XR? Back in 2016, we were a part of an initiative within Google to build out a new platform for VR called Daydream. And really what YouTube XR started off as was YouTube VR. It was a showcase for creators who were putting together content that was VR 180 or 360, and it was really the one place where you could go watch those pieces of content in their full intended format. As you might be familiar with Cardboard, we were also building a full immersive theater, what we call a player rig for watching spatial content. At the time, it wasn't called spatial content. But as you can see, it's really focused on immersing you in these content formats, and this is a very dated launch video that we've kind of carried throughout the years over time. So a brief history, when we first got into this space, there was sort of a divide between fidelity and reach. And the industry was really trying to figure out, like, where's the balance there, right? PC VR was like the highest fidelity, but it was also the hardest for somebody to get into. Mobile VR was extremely reachable. Most people had a phone they could slap into Cardboard, but the fidelity was much lower. It was really meant as an entry point. And as Daydream kind of went by the wayside, we moved our experience over to Oculus, and we started to see the formation of what we commonly refer to as all-in-one VR. All-in-one VR took all of the compute, put it on one headset, and we saw that just grow. Users came to YouTube, they enjoyed the experience, they could do it all in a headset very easily. And as we continue to watch the market expand, now we see another divide that's sort of happened with spatial computing and the future of spatial computing. Android XR, as you may be familiar with, Galaxy XR launch last year, is one of those examples. And of course, Apple is driving it forward with visionOS and the Apple Vision Pro. All-in-one XR is not going anywhere. Like, we're still investing in our Quest platform and Pico VR, and there's a huge future ahead with those platforms as well. Notably, XR headsets are still the one way to get a fully immersive content experience. That's really the only way to do it. But we are really excited about some of the things that we're seeing with AI glasses. If you were here for the talk a couple sessions back, obviously Meta's seeing some great growth with AI glasses, and we're invested in that area as well. But we're really excited about the convergence of these two things into XR glasses, bringing some of immersion to a glasses form factor where people are wearing all day, while still, sort of getting over that hurdle of, oh, I've got to put this headset on my head in order to experience these things. So we're looking towards the future, we're prototyping, we're figuring out what our role in that space is, but we're really excited about how that's all evolving. All right, so with that transition through all of these changes in the market, user needs changed as well. What we noticed very early on when we got into the space was that people came for 360 and VR 180 because they thought that was like the thing you did in a headset. But really what people did when they stuck around was they watched YouTube, 2D YouTube. They just wanted YouTube. And so over time, we started to expand our efforts and not just focus on the 3D content library, but bringing more of our 2D YouTube experiences to the YouTube VR experience. And we'll walk through some of the case studies that we got into with that. As the platforms evolved, this is more of what you're seeing now. Right? So now it's less about getting fully immersed in a headset with a virtual space, but actually being able to access multiple apps at the same time, access YouTube in a window rather than a full world, and be able to augment the things that you're doing in the real world while you're also multitasking with multiple apps and headset. It's a lot. but it's kind of the kernel of where everything is going, and we're really excited about that. It doesn't mean that immersion is gone. It just means that user needs have changed. People don't necessarily start off with YouTube content going directly into a fully immersive environment. They really kind of want to expand as their journey expands through using YouTube on these platforms. So over time, we kind of identified two postures. We use this language called postures. Okay, so we started off with an immersive posture. That was YouTube as a world unto itself. It takes over the whole space. It acts as the entire experience. Think of it as YouTube as a game, right? Like you launch this thing, you're right in YouTube, and that's all that you're experiencing. And this is great if that's all you want to do. But like I said, user needs evolved. And we started to identify that, hey, YouTube actually needs to work in a multitasking space as well. That posture has all kinds of other user needs. It might be more transient. I want to just sort of access a video real quick while I'm trying to fix my sink, right? Like, oh, that's kind of helpful. Let me do that without having to have my phone out and prop it up. Or maybe I just want to be distracted while I'm washing dishes and watch some shorts. So multitasking really solves some of these other use cases, and pass-through mixed reality really brought those to bear. But what we had as a design challenge was, how does YouTube adapt to both of these postures and still build an immersive, interactive experience that's kind of magical? There's a simple approach. We could say, hey, we've got the immersive environment, we've got immersive YouTube, let's just stick with that, and let's just use YouTube as a browser. That's one option. But it's really the connection between those modes and the ability to move seamlessly between those different postures that really creates that magical experience. So we took a pretty deep approach. We went through a whole design system overhaul. And we started off by coming up with some modernized XR-optimized components. These are like the building blocks of what you need to build a YouTube experience. These things can't just simply be a button. They have to think about the needs of XR inputs, how you're using controllers, or how you're using eyes and hands, are the click targets large enough, et cetera. Most of you that have worked in this space know exactly what we're talking about. Then we took a lot of those Legos and we put them together into prefabs, for lack of a better word. These are basically just combinations of things that we can put into an experience and share across multiple postures. And so what you can imagine is, in your multitasking mode, you want to be able to access video metadata. The content that you want to get access to in terms of that metadata, like who made this, what was the channel, can I subscribe and like, et cetera, shouldn't radically change if you just decide to go into a fully immersive mode. These prefabs and these components allow us to seamlessly transition you magically back and forth without losing the state that you were in and creating kind of a magical experience across immersion and multitasking. So let's talk a little bit about what multitasking looks like on our platform now. This is the new modernized multitasking panel UI that we have on Quest. As you can see, it looks kind of similar to what you would find in a tablet or on a living room device. It's YouTube. You can browse. You can watch. Here's an example of the same posture, the same components, the same shared UI on Android XR. You can access multiple different apps all at the same time. And you can also play content. So here I'm watching the Tron trailer, or you can watch your favorite, what is this? Oh yeah, Kyrgyzstan. So it's very flexible, but it works in these cases. But the magic is that it's simple on the outside, but it works magically to switch you between multitasking and immersive on a click. So let's talk a little bit about the immersive posture. This is what immersion looked like on YouTube when we launched. It's kind of what you would expect. A couple of what we didn't call at the time spatial windows, but they were spatial windows. And they sort of got out of the way when you were watching on a large player. And you were able to move that player around and the content stayed sort of oriented with it and pinned to it. This is what our new immersive posture looks like. The difference between these two is that the same UI components that were used to make this UI are shared with the same UI that's used at the platform level for multitasking, which means that when you transition between these two states, you're getting a seamless experience. It's not like you're loading a new app or transitioning to a new state and starting over. And so a lot of thinking went into this as we developed it over the years. So now Zach's going to walk you through what we did to bring this to emerging platforms.
Thanks, Mario. All right, so we have the great new Android XR platform, and it was actually pretty straightforward for our team to start developing for Android XR, at least from an immersive perspective, because we were able to reuse that Android OpenXR code base for the multitasking posture, and this, lowered our initial development efforts. And then for our immersive mode, we were trying to make the seamless experience between these two postures. So the modernized XR components that Mario walked through earlier, they help transition between the 2D and the 3D. These components were all built with the Jetpack XR framework, which really made it easy to have that seamless continuity to pull users into our creator content, even if it's 2D content. And now I'm going to talk about what I've been working on since joining the team, which is, sorry, I'm looking at the next slide. So we had the extra advantage of being in the Google ecosystem. So you get easy sign-in on Android XR, which has always been kind of one of our pains in our side on MetaQuest, is really getting users the best experience by getting them signed in. You can multitask with all your favorite Google apps in Android XR. And, Gemini integration, what could be better in 2026? So you can talk to Gemini about the video that you're watching. You can ask it for recommendations. And of course, Android XR gets us up to 8K quality playback of all these great content types, VR 180, 360, stereo, 2D. Okay. And now I'm going to talk about what I've been working on since joining the team, which is the visionOS implementation for YouTube XR. So as we started building out our implementation, we knew that we were going to have some requirements that we would need to meet. The first of which is that we would use RealityKit and SwiftUI. This was not an instant decision for the team. There's lots of options out there, especially for Google, of how to bring our app into visionOS. But we felt that RealityKit and SwiftUI would do the best job of really taking advantage of what that operating system has to offer and making a great YouTube experience on the platform. We knew that we were going to have to use YouTube's custom-built media player that's really robust and powerful. It's been proven on the millions of devices that it's installed that run iOS. And it also allows us to support a lot of our requirements that we have in our contracts with our creators as well. We knew that we would have to be able to seamlessly transition between 2D, 3D, and immersive playback, just the way that we do on MetaQuest or Android XR, and provide the experiences that they expect in any YouTube player experience, either in a flat format or in an immersive format. Things like video details, recommendations, playback controls. And as we were thinking about this, we were also considering bringing unique features to visionOS, things like SharePlay or docking windows in an environment. And when we put that all together, we were faced with building, our immersive player experience. So I'll just talk through a little bit of the engineering details here. So in RealityKit, there's this concept called attachments, which basically allow you to build out a SwiftUI view and then place it into an immersive space. We want to make sure that that view ends up directly in front of the viewer, no matter where they're looking. And when you're watching 360 content, you might start playing the video facing one way and then end the video facing directly behind you. And because we auto-hide those views to immerse the viewer, we want to make sure that when they bring them back up, they're right in front of them. Apple, however, wants to make sure that users have privacy at the forefront of the experience, so they don't actually give us insight into that gaze tracking that they use to power their operating system. We do, however, have the ability to query where the device is. So we query the device's orientation. We extract from that the height that the user is at to place the views. So if they sat down in the middle of the video, it's still a good experience. And then we also query the yaw, so basically which direction they've rotated to. And then we can place those views in front of the user and apply some transforms to make them angled toward the user and in the right positions to get that really pretty aesthetic. And all these views are kind of built into one entity that we apply at that time. Another way in which we want to make sure that user comfort is at the forefront of our experience is if you are watching immersive content, we want you to be able to look at everything that those creators have provided. You know, there's a lot of content out there, especially in like Apple immersive videos, that is really focused on a curated experience that has a lot of money invested in production value. A lot of our creators that we want to be publishing to the platform are just like going out there, having an epic experience with a 360 camera, and then uploading it to the platform. That's how we get this massive content library. But as a result, it doesn't always, you know, there might be something happening in the foreground and the background, and you want to be able to look at all of it. So we wanted to make sure users could pan the video to see where they were looking without needing to physically rotate their body. However, this created a user comfort concern because if you pan the video, all of a sudden the world is swinging all around you. And a lot of people coming to YouTube have not had hundreds of hours in VR games to train themselves, not get nauseous. So we pulled a tip out of the VR gaming book, brought vignetting to the app. And basically, when you pivot with a drag gesture, which is common in visionOS, we just transform the location of the video, and then our video is applied on a giant sphere around the user. We just built a slightly smaller sphere and punched a hole in it to apply that vignette. And really it helps with that user comfort issue. Another way in which we saw users experiencing discomfort was when we rendered our captions in our video. So especially if you're watching a stereo immersive video, throwing captions in front of the user that's just text can actually be quite uncomfortable. We discovered that if you give something larger for users to transfer their focus when you have something that's half a meter away versus 2 meters away, it makes that transition easier. So we applied a nice big border behind our captions. Finally, visionOS is meant to be built, apps on visionOS are meant to be built with SwiftUI. And we wanted to embrace this to, like I said, get the best of what visionOS has to offer, but also bring a bit of that YouTube feel to make sure that users know that they're experiencing the YouTube identity of our platform as well. So we implemented a custom ornament to drive the navigation of the app. If you remember earlier to Mario's examples, the ornament is kind of this unique paradigm that Apple has brought to visionOS. So we wanted to embrace that, but in our own way. We also have custom hover states. You can see that white outline around the video is a demonstration of a unique hover state that we developed that is not built into visionOS, and custom interactions like our drag gestures and whatnot. All right, so that's a little insight into building for Android XR and visionOS.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, this gave us a replication of a seamless experience on multiple different platforms. Android shares all of the same UI, all the same components in a seamless experience that now supports both multitasking and immersion, and visionOS does the same. Obviously, we had to use a different language to bring our platform to visionOS. Okay, so what does this all mean? It's a lot of complexity to try and deliver something that seems pretty simple, right? Watching videos, and but considerations like the captions example that Zach was talking about. When you just throw captions on top of 3D content, there is an adjustment that people's eyes have to make, and it can create either a comfortable experience or an uncomfortable experience. And so thinking about depth and z-index and whether that should be in its own panel or should it be like flat on the 2D surface, a lot of things to consider to make an immersive experience what it is. As we went through a lot of this stuff, not just developing for emerging platforms, but over the years, we've really learned a lot about how people engage with content in these experiences. And so I wanted to share a few 2D examples. So as I said, when we first launched, we were mostly a showcase for spatial and VR 180, sorry, 360 and VR 180. But as YouTube expanded and started to include things like short form content, we wanted to bring that to our experience as well. So, we did put in some work in 2023 to develop a shorts experience for Quest. And we launched it. And we thought to ourselves, this is really a format that was born out of mobile devices, right? And it's mostly consumed on mobile devices. It's created on mobile devices. How is this going to actually play out in immersion? And what we found out was it actually does really, really well. Year over year, this is actually increasingly more popular in XR. It's now our #2 content format. And when we talk to users and we ask them why, what they tell us is they say things like, the interactivity is fun. It's delightful. Like swiping with gestures and doing things like that is just relaxing and fun and kind of surprising. Immersion doesn't just have to be about 3D, and it doesn't have to be about virtual spaces. It can be about gestures and inputs and ways that you tackle those problems and deliver a unique experience. And Shorts is just one of those examples. The other things that they pointed out is that, on most other platforms when they experience Shorts, if they want to find out more about the creator, they have to compromise the viewing experience, right? Like the details of the video overlap the video. In XR, it expands openly, gracefully, and it displays right next to it, and you don't have to compromise the video playback. Another experience that we've built, this was for Android XR, is multi-view. So you're probably familiar with multi-view with the context of watching sports on like living room devices or on Android devices. We wanted to bring that type of experience to XR. And our initial version of it was just give you 4 quads, 4 games, up to 4 games, and let you watch, in a big, large screen. And as we prototyped and experimented around with it more, we saw that users really responded to like being able to customize the experience, grab the screens, move them, resize them, determine what layouts they wanted. A lot of these experiences on other YouTube supported platforms have pre-configured layouts, right? But in XR, let people explore and play. Let them figure out what's best for them and let them configure it the way that they want to. And the last example, when we first started getting into VR 180 and 360, this was a big overhead for creators to get started, right? It required new cameras, it required new ways of thinking of filming content, how to frame things in a way that wasn't going to overwhelm people. And as I said, YouTube was a way on VR devices, a way to experience that content in its fullest form. But that's a pretty high cost for people to ask people to like, hey, strap on a headset and watch this content in VR. So we did a lot of the legwork to like sort of make that content also accessible on 2D surfaces on web, desktop, and mobile. We would either default back to a single eye so you could watch the content there, or we would have Magic Eye if it was 360 so you could kind of use your mouse to pan around or your finger. And that sort of allowed spatial content creators to still have their content visible on 2D surfaces. Now we're actually with Gen AI investing in the opposite direction. 2D content creators who never thought about making 3D content, we've been prototyping and working in partnership with Android XR and some of our creators to take their traditional 2D content and auto-spatialize it, turning it into 3D content and rendering a stereo layout. So their content can be discovered in new ways on platforms like our YouTube XR platform. So those are just some examples, some learnings. We hope you take some of these things away and go build experiences on your own and think about how it's not just necessarily 3D technology that brings immersion. Sometimes it's thinking through problems around comfort or thinking through ways to deliver a new experience on old content or old content types that are playful, interactive, and enjoyable. So if anybody has any questions, we have time for questions. Otherwise, thank you very much.